Hey guys, it's Reese from Hurricane Energy here. We've had a lot of questions recently about how much power does my house actually use and therefore what size battery do I need? I've got the PowerPal app here, which goes along with a little free energy meter that you can get. At least it's free from the Victorian government. They put it on your smart meter and it can measure how much power you're drawing from the grid at any one time. So I've got a full electric house, no gas connected at all, but I don't have an EV. So it's pretty typical of most new builds that are happening at the moment. My heating and cooling is electric, my cooking is electric, both the stove and the oven, and also my hot water is electric. So let's have a look for the month of July. How much power am I using on average? And also, how much is that costing me? So we'll swap over to the app now and we can see here that Friday, July the 25th, that used the most amount of power. It was $11 for the total day, and that's because even though I have 13 kilowatts worth of solar, it just was not a very sunny day. It was also a very cold day, being the middle of winter, and my wife was home at the time. So we were using lots of power to heat the house throughout the day. As I touch each one of these individual 15-minute sections here, you can see how much power was being drawn on average for that particular section. And with the heater running, typically we're seeing between 3 and 5 kilowatts. Now that's almost exclusively the heater. A little bit of that power will be the lights, probably less than a few hundred watts. And again, a few hundred watts probably also the TV if that was on. But for the most part, it is that heat pump, that ducted heating and cooling that's, if it's electric, that draws a huge amount of power. So if you're looking at getting one of our battery systems, that's one of the circuits we would typically say, don't back this one up. Because when it has a draw at 5 kilowatts, even with 50 kilowatts worth of battery power, that is going to flatten your batteries from completely full to completely empty in 10 hours. And that doesn't account for any other electrical usage you might have, such as cooking or charging an EV. You can see that we try to avoid using power in the peak time. So the peak is this section on the right-hand side here where it's red. There is a section there where we peaked at 7.4 kilowatts. So that's when we would have been running the heater as well as the oven or potentially the stove to cook dinner. Being that we have kids, we're having dinner pretty early at the moment. And then a few blips later on in the evening where the heater was just topping up to keep the temperature stable in the house. Now, if we have a look at some of the other days here, I can see the day before, there's a section there where the PowerPal app didn't collect any data on the left-hand side, but through the top, the reason that says 0 is because it was much sunnier. So we were generating a lot of electricity on the day before my most expensive day. And of course, being that it's a full electric household, we could have benefited from storing the electricity that we actually exported on that same day. I swapped over to the solar tracker app for my solar power to see how much power I was generating on these 2 days. The day that we drew the most power from the grid, over 50 kilowatt hours in one day, was the 25th of July. It was cold and it was cloudy. You can see that we generated 7.6 kilowatt hours. Pretty much all of that would have been consumed within the household. So my daily consumption, total generation plus bought from the grid, was closer to 60 kilowatt hours for one day. But if you look at the day before that, we generated 41.5 kilowatt hours of solar. That's way more than we needed, and because it was a sunny day, the heater wasn't being used very much. This is a perfect example of where our batteries would have been helping to offset the cost of the next day. Of these 41 kilowatt hours, I don't have an exact measurement because I don't have the right equipment at home to measure this, but a large majority of that would have been exported to the grid. So you can see that even here, in July, the middle of winter in Melbourne, I'm hitting over 30 kilowatt hours of generated solar on multiple different days, and on one day even over 40 kilowatt hours. Each time I'm exporting power to the grid, I'm giving it away for free. I could be storing it in my batteries, and if I can offset my peak usage, I'm saving over 35 cents per kilowatt hour in subsequent days. This is just a great example of how a battery can help you. I will be installing these batteries myself at my home, and I'll do an update once we've done that as well. If you'd like a custom analysis on your power, feel free to send through this sort of information to us. All we need to see is your daily generation power from your solar tracker app and also your daily consumption. And we can give you really high quality data about exactly how much power you'll be able to offset with your own solar generation. Thanks for listening. This has been Reese from Hurricane Energy.